So Angie, I know we covered some of this. By the way, I always feel bad for like the third panelist because usually by the time we get there, it's like, oh, we answered your question, so moving along.
You've touched on a lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's more that you can add. So the interesting thing about your background, you've had various levels of sizes of institution, right? So that matters in HR policies. But what are some of the threads you've seen kind of foundationally remain the same? Things that you need to pay attention to at all sizes, but then also triggers, right? So we know FMLA triggers at a certain number of employees or whatever. So it's kind of the double-sided question, but getting to the same point. Does size matter?
Yes, actually, to answer your question, I'm going to say it. Size does matter. Okay, here's why. Because you probably already heard there's a little bit of an alphabet soup going on out there with HR, as with most industries. So if I was to ask the audience, who can tell me what FLSA stands for? What? None of you know the Fair Labor Standards Act? That's what I'm trying.
Oh, Mark, you don't count.
Oh, Mark. That's not fair. He's cheating. He's gone to previous trainings with me. So.
And he runs the Minority Business Assistance Center, so he better know what that means.
So the reason that size does matter with your organization and in comparison to human resources laws is because there are going to be trigger points. So if anyone in here has 10 employees in your group, are you keeping your OSHA 300 logs? That's kind of people tend to forget about these little trigger points that happen. And I think John was speaking to it earlier that the larger your organization grows, the more and more that's required of you. Or I'm sorry, it may have been Gail, I don't remember which one of you. Sorry, my mic's obviously right there.
No, you're good. I told you there.
So
State institution.
State institution, it works. I love it, it's a great mic. So I can tell you from having worked for, my smallest organization I worked for had 50 employees. The largest I've worked for had 50,000 employees across all of North America. And experiencing those different types of environments is very eye-opening because the things that I'm doing in a 50-employee organization is going to be entirely different than what I'm doing for a 50,000 employee organization. And even your approaches are going to be different. And I'm probably going to get some dirty looks from my two panelists over here because I'm one of those HR professionals who does believe in gray areas. Don't hurt me later.
Especially the lawyer.
And I also believe that your approach does have to vary based on your culture, the size of your organization, the type of business that you run, and also specifically, we forgot about those employees, those people that you actually have to deal with on a daily basis and you're talking to. So those are going to be factors, in my opinion, you need to take into consideration when you're developing your HR policies, processes, and expectations. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I mean, it's interesting to me as like when you bring one employee on and you think you don't need that kind of stuff, right? So there are certain things I feel like are foundational across all sizes, handbooks being one, right? So that's expectations, performance evaluations. You're going to do those if you're 1 or 50,000, would be my guess. Other panelists, just throw it to you, are there other types of foundational principles you believe cross all size organizations?
I would say paper. So
Okay.
regardless of where you are in it, every step of the process should be papered so that you can go back and say, this is what we did, this is why we did it, and here's the reason, either pro or con. Because it doesn't matter if you have an employee handbook, it doesn't matter if you have a policy. If you're not papering what you're doing, if you're not following what you're doing, it's as if you really don't have one.
True. It could work against you, really, even. Excellent. Thank you, guys.
I think conducting the hiring process too. Because,
of course.
I mean, generally when you're a startup, you're not gonna jump in with 50 people. You're gonna have maybe 1 or 2 or 5.
Yep.
And to start with a tiny group and build to 50,000 employees that are all going to work together cohesively you have to really understand how to build a team.
Yep.
And that's your next.
That's our next one.
That's a plug for your next.
Yeah,
your
and
next
by the way, I expected
session.
crossover, so there's nothing there. But it's just, that's how important this topic is, that you just can't cover it.
Team development and hiring
Yep.
is pretty much across the board very important.
Absolutely.